Hello, welcome back to part two of The Art of Taming Dragons. My name is Matthew Markel. Welcome back. If you had a chance to watch the first video that I posted, great. We'll continue on from there. And if you'd like to go back and watch it, that would be awesome too. And it might help fill in some of the blanks of things that I might be talking about here in this video today. So anyway, the subject that I want to talk about today is the subject of balancing the tension of opposites and why I think that's important for our own human growth and for our work with our own dragons and learning how to tame and befriend them. So naturally, when we experience a tension within us, at best, that tension is uncomfortable, and at worst, it can feel intolerable. Our natural tendency when we experience any kind of tension is to want to resolve it right away. And while there are certainly forms of tension that require our ability to resolve, this isn't necessarily true of all tensions. There is a form of inner tension which I call a paradoxical tension or a creative tension. This arrives to us more as a vehicle to sort of wake us up, wake us out of a stupor in our lives, to get us moving, to give us some energy to get moving. I call it a paradoxical tension because it is the experience of having more than one thing feel or be true to us in ourselves at the same time. And for instance, two parts of myself might pop up and want two very, very different things from me, right? I think we can all relate to that on some level. So part of our job in learning how to balance tensions inside of us is to learn not to simply abandon one side of the tension in favor of the other, okay? But to learn how to listen to and perhaps even speak with both sides of the story, as it were. Give each of them at least a chance to tell us what they want or what they need. You see, when we rush into resolve a tension too quickly, we risk learning how to abandon the parts of ourselves that we like less in that tension and would prefer to ignore. Maybe even we might want to make it go away completely. Not surprisingly, over time, these abandoned parts of ourselves will turn into the dragons that we must contend with later on. So when we give preference to only one part of ourselves and abandon the rest, we are in essence still abandoning ourselves, because all of the parts belong to us. We have not learned how to yet sit with all of the different parts of ourselves that wish to have an expression in our lives. So one tension that I want to talk about today is this great archetypal tension that we deal with between the concept of the light and the dark. Now, every story and every great myth has its own interpretation as to the nature of these two elemental forces. In our Western culture and in our Western mythic imagination, we have decidedly imbued that which we call light is that which is life-giving, good for us, and that which is dark is that which takes away from us or is opposed to us in some way or just outright evil. As a result, we have become what I like to call a light-centric society, meaning that we seek to pursue and glorify all things that appear to us as being light, of the light, while also shunning, fighting, abandoning, avoiding, or ignoring everything that which appears to us as dark. But what if not all that was dark was inherently evil or antagonistic to us? What if there are things in the dark that we need for the nourishment of our own souls? Carl Jung had a term for this place, which he called the human shadow. This is the place in the human psyche where all of the rejected and abandoned parts of ourselves that don't conform to whatever ideal versions of ourselves that we're working hard to promote in our lives, this is where they all go. This is where they reside. This, of course, is where our dragons come from. So, dragon work is shadow work, and there's a reason why we as Western people have never been able to do our dragon work properly. We have been able to see and greet the shadow parts of ourselves as anything other than harmful, antagonistic, sinful, or evil. From Cain and Abel to Grendel and Beowulf to Jekyll and Hyde. We've got a long Western history of this continued antagonism between the light and the dark. So it's no wonder that we don't have any good modern rites or rituals to help us learn how to explore and walk through our shadowy regions properly. So here's the problem with fighting or ignoring the shadow. As Carl Jung himself observed, just because we don't want the shadow to exist does not therefore mean it does not exist. And actually, the harder we fight or the harder we try to suppress or ignore our own shadows, the bigger they become and the more powerful they become. We will always give more power inside of us to that which we keep hidden to us. And that which acts out unconsciously does tend to act out destructively. So that is when the shadow side does become dangerous and can produce harm to ourselves or to others. That which we make or are capable of making conscious to ourselves, however, we can bring, those are the things that we can bring back to the table in our own lives, where we can at least explore the possibility of inner reconciliation. So shadow work is important, and it's important in terms, in regard to dragon work, obviously. You know, that which we treat as an enemy, we can expect to behave as an enemy. This principle holds true in our relationship with ourselves and our own shadows. Health, wholeness, healing, growth, inner reconciliation, and outward reconciliation, by the way, all depend on our ability to learn how to greet our shadows and work with them properly, acknowledging that our shadows are a part of us, whether we regard them as evil or not. Learning how to bring them back to the inner council of ourselves again, rebuilding trust with them again, experiencing inner reconciliation again, is the healing elixir that we are looking for in learning how to greet, tame, and befriend our own dragons. It is not through avoiding our shadows that we find this healing. It is through restoring inner peace and active relationship with these shadow parts of ourselves, these dragon-like parts of ourselves, that we finally begin to experience that which we are all longing for. So this is why it's important for us to learn how to hold the tension of opposites within us sometimes without automatically trying to resolve them too quickly. Without this skill of balancing the tension of opposites, there's really no way to learn how to begin greeting our dragons properly and developing a healthy relationship with them over time. So, there's much more to say on this topic and many other interesting topics that I'm excited to explore in the future, which we will do in some subsequent videos over time. Thanks again for joining me today. There's, as I said, more to come. If you're interested in learning more about the topic of dragons and dragon taming, please purchase a copy of my new book called The Fire That Never Dies, Dragons of the West. It's available through my publisher, Austin Macaulay Publishers. You can also find a copy of it on Amazon if you'd like. So take care, blessings to everyone, good journeying. Start asking some really great questions that you haven't learned how to ask before, and I will look forward to seeing you back here next time.